In this lesson, we are going to talk about tags, summary, and the description. So tags allow us to structure and organize our operations within a single file, so we're able to categorize our operations based on the string that we provide in the tags. And we can also provide multiple categories, like not only one, but every endpoint can have multiple categories. So for instance, when we define tags, we have a list, the amount of number of string we provide, and the list equals number of categories that operation or the endpoint will be placed there. So let's understand how we're going to achieve this. Let's first have our simple fast API application where we have the message of hello world, the endpoint of hello. This is not going to be tagged, but we are going to have the blocks tag endpoints where we are going to add all the endpoints which are in the part of the block endpoint. So what does it mean to tag? So I'm going to have the get request for the block.all. I'm going to tag this as a block. If I have, for example, getting the block type, I'm getting the block type by the dynamic parameter of type, I'm going to tag this again as a block. If I have not only block, but I have only a comment part for the block, so I'm going to say that this part of the endpoint is going to be in the section where we have the tag both of the blocks and both the comment. And if I have just block getting the block by the ID, I'm going to set this as the tagged by block. So in this case, as you can see, we have a couple of endpoints which are tagged as block, and one of them is tagged as block and comment. So let's now understand, if I just go and copy this code to our main.py, what is going to happen when I tag the endpoints. So if I just copy and paste this, save this, everything, all the changes, open again our terminal, and then navigate to where our Python script is, and then say ubicorn main apps reloads. You can see everything works well. If I go to our localhost /docs, you can see that now I have three sections of endpoints. I have the default section where all the endpoints are tagged as default ones. So here is only the hello world endpoint. We have all the endpoints which are tagged as block in the section of the block. So here I have the block.all, block ID comments, comment ID, block type, and the block ID. And of course, as we had one of the categories deciding that it is also part of the comment, so besides the block, we will have both this endpoint, the get one, and this one in both of the sections. So we have both of them in the block section and the comment section. So this is how the tagging of the endpoints work. And besides tagging the endpoints, there are also two important things that we can add to our endpoints. These are the summary and the description. So they are basically like information we provide mainly for the documentation purposes. It's very important because when a person starts to use your API, you need to provide as much documentation as possible. So what does each parameter type is, what does each endpoint do, what is the description of each endpoint, what is the return value for the endpoint, what is the endpoint expecting, and all the minor things all must be documented so that the person, whenever trying to access your endpoint, knows what he needs to do in order to the endpoints work perfectly. So in order to accomplish this, we can provide in the endpoints more information such as summary and the description. So in the case of the block endpoint, let's say block.all, we're going to use the tag as always, which is block. We're going to say the summary is going to be retrieve all the blocks, and the description is going to be this API call simulates fetching all blocks. And in the end, I'm going also to say the response description, which is saying that this is giving the list of all the available blocks. So in the case of the getting blocks, I have already saw this message, so it's returning just a message that all page size blocks are on page, depending on the parameter. Of course, besides the documentation, we can also use the documentation in the functions in the API. So if it's a get comment, here I write the what does the get comment endpoint do, So it says that we have the ID mandatory path parameter, comment ID is mandatory path parameter, the boolean optional query parameter, and the username, which is optional query parameter. And in the end, I am returning for this endpoint some kind of log ID, comment ID is valid, and the username. So also I can specify some status codes in our FastAPI application, as we learned from the last lesson. So if we want to get the block, this response status code is 200. In the case of the giving wrong ID, it's going to be giving me a status code of 404, and it's also tagged as a block. So I'm going to just add one summary and description and the response description, so to illustrate my topic about summary and description, so you could understand how it works in the FastAPI documentation. So if I just copy it, go and paste it in my FastAPI application, so you can see everything is reloaded. If I now go just to localhost/docs, so you can see that in the case of the blog.all endpoint, if I enhance this, I can see that now this says the description, this API call simulates fetching all the blocks. This is the summary, the retrieving all the blocks. And in the end, you can see that there are also, I have the description of the response button, response. So in the end, if I get the status code of 200, I will get all the list of available blocks currently. So here I also have the default page query parameter value and also the page size. So here everything very well documented, so you know already the summary, the description, and what is going to be the response of the API. So whenever you have REST API applications, try to give to all of the endpoints the summary, description, and the response description, so whenever anybody is using your API, he knows how to use it. So this is it for this lesson.